My name is Elias Pendleton. I am 74 years old, a retired radio DJ, and I live here in Augusta, Georgia. What I am about to tell you today is a secret that my wife, Cora, kept for 52 years of marriage. It was a secret so painful that she chose to live in the dark her entire life rather than show me the truth. When I finally discovered it, I understood that true love goes much deeper than what the eyes can see. We spent 52 years together. We raised 3 children, saw 4 grandchildren born, and built an entire life side by side. But in all that time, my Cora never, not even once, let me see her without clothes on. It was always in the dark, always with the bathroom door locked, and always with her nightgown buttoned up to her chin. I thought it was just shyness, her way of being a modest, reserved woman, and I respected that. Of course I did. After all, love is built on respect, isn't it? But the truth was something else entirely. It was a truth so sad and so heavy that she carried it alone since she was a little girl. When I finally found out, my heart didn't break out of anger or disappointment. It broke because I finally understood the sheer magnitude of the suffering that woman carried on her own, thinking that if I knew, I would stop loving her. This story will touch your heart. It will make you think about what really matters in love, about the pain people hide, and the secrets we carry out of fear of being rejected. By the end, you will understand that the deepest marks are not always the ones you see in the mirror. If you have ever truly loved someone, or if you have ever been afraid of being rejected for something you cannot change, please give this video a like to brighten this old man's heart. Subscribe to the Grandparents' Diaries channel so you don't miss the next stories I have to share. And tell me in the comments where you are watching from and what time it is there. Have you ever kept a secret because you were afraid of losing the person you love? I love knowing which city you are in and what part of the day you are spending with me. It all started when I was still a young man working at a local radio station here in Augusta. I was a DJ, playing classic soul and rhythm and blues, reading live dedications on the air. Those things we used to do back in the day. It was a different time. Life was simpler. People met at the town squares, at church socials, or community fairs. It was at one of those church dances that I first met my Cora. She was 19 years old, a beautiful girl with a sweet gaze, but quiet. Always so quiet in the corner. While the other girls were laughing loudly and dancing with everyone, she stayed there with her friends, almost hiding. She caught my eye immediately. It wasn't just her beauty. No, it was something in her manner. A fragility, a delicacy that made me want to protect her. I walked up and asked for a dance. She turned bright red, but she accepted. Her hand trembled in mine. We only danced for one song because she said she was tired, but I was already head over heels. I started going to every social event just to see her. She always wore long-sleeved dresses, even in the sweltering Georgia heat, which is no small thing. She was always covered up to her neck. I thought it was beautiful. I thought it was just the way a decent, well-raised young woman dressed. But there was so much more behind all those layers of fabric. We dated for a year. It was an old-fashioned courtship, sitting in the living room with her mother nearby, talking on the porch, holding hands at the park. I never even saw her bare arms. She was always in long sleeves, always covered. But I didn't care. I didn't question it. I thought it was just her personality. And I loved that personality. When I asked her to marry me, she took a long time to answer. She spent a few days thinking it over. I didn't understand it at the time. I thought it was just the nerves of a young woman. But she was terrified. Terrified of what would come after the I do. Terrified of the honeymoon. Terrified that I would find out and leave her. But eventually, she said yes. It was the happiest day of my life, but I didn't know it was also the day she made the hardest decision of hers, to hide from me forever what lay beneath those clothes. Our first night as a married couple showed me that this secret was going to be bigger than I imagined, and that my Cora carried a pain I didn't yet comprehend. Cora was born and raised in a small, rural town in the Mississippi Delta near Greenwood. It was one of those tiny places where everyone knows everyone, and no secret lasted very long. But hers lasted because it was the kind of secret people hide with shame, fear, and agony. Her mother was a woman who had suffered a lot, someone life had treated harshly from the start. She was widowed young, with a small child to raise on her own. She worked as a laundress, a cook, whatever work she could find, until she met a man. He was a man who drank, a man with a bad reputation, but he promised to take care of both of them. Her mother, tired of the struggle, believed him. Cora told me many years later what the days were like in that man's house. Days of silence, of walking on eggshells, of not making a sound, so as not to wake him up when he was hungover. Days of watching her mother take hits when the food wasn't exactly how he wanted it. Days of being afraid, constant, paralyzing fear. She was just a little girl, a tiny thing with long hair and big eyes, who loved playing with dolls in the yard. But she couldn't play too loudly. She couldn't laugh too much. She couldn't really be a child because her stepfather didn't like noise, didn't like children, and didn't like anything that wasn't bourbon and silence. Her mother tried to protect her as best she could. She would hide the girl when he came home drunk, or send her to a neighbor's house when she saw things were about to get ugly. But she couldn't be everywhere, and there was one day when she couldn't protect her. One day, that changed my Cora's life forever. Cora was 7 years old when it happened. It was the middle of the week. Her mother had gone down to the river to wash clothes and left the girl at home doing her schoolwork. The stepfather came home early, already agitated, already looking for trouble. She didn't even see him come in. She was focused on writing in her notebook at the kitchen table. He barked an order at her to make him some food. A 7-year-old girl. She told him she didn't know how, that her mother hadn't taught her yet. He slammed his fist on the table and screamed that she was useless and lazy. Terrified, she tried. She grabbed some grits and tried to light the gas stove the way she had seen her mother do it. Her little hands were shaking with fear. She managed to make the grits. She couldn't do anything else, but she made the grits. She put them on a plate and brought them to the table. Her hands were shaking so hard the plate almost slipped, but she managed to set it down. She breathed a sigh of relief. She thought it was okay, that he would just eat, and that would be it. But the grits had no salt. He took one bite and spat it out. He stood up, grabbed the plate, and hurled it across the room. The ceramic shattered into pieces. He looked at her with that look she knew, the look that came before the beatings her mother received. She knew this time it was for her. She begged for forgiveness. She said she would do it again, that she would add salt, that it would be perfect. But he wasn't listening. He was just pure, blind rage. He grabbed her by the arm and squeezed hard. She cried and begged him to let her go. He told her he was going to teach her a lesson she would never forget. He went to the stove. A pot of water for coffee was sitting there, boiling and steaming. He grabbed the pot. Cora saw what he was about to do and tried to run, but he was stronger and faster. He grabbed her, spun her around, and poured the boiling water down her back. The pain was so intense she couldn't even scream properly. It was a scream that died in her throat, turning into a whimper, and then into blackness. She collapsed on the floor. He dropped the empty pot and walked out of the house as if nothing had happened. He left her there, her back raw and her skin literally melting away. Her mother came home and found the scene, the broken plate, the empty pot, and her daughter unconscious in a pool of blood and burned skin. She screamed for help. The neighbors came running. They wrapped the girl in a sheet and rushed her to the town hospital. The doctors did what they could, but the burns were severe. 3rd degree, they said. It would leave a mark forever. Cora spent 3 months in the hospital. 3 months of agonizing treatments, of screaming in pain, of crying for her mother. 3 months during which her stepfather never once visited, never apologized, and never showed a shred of remorse. And her mother, poor soul, didn't have the courage to report him. She was afraid of him, afraid of being alone again, afraid of not being able to support her daughter. So she pretended it was an accident, and everyone else pretended to believe her. When Cora left the hospital, her back was covered in scars. Ugly, purple, deep scars. Marks that screamed of violence, telling a story no one wanted to hear. And at 7 years old, she already knew that this was going to change everything. She would never be like the other children. She was marked, different. A monster, as her stepfather called her, before he finally left for good, after her mother found the strength to kick him out. She grew up hiding, always in long sleeves, even in the heat. She never went to the swimming pool with her friends. She never took her shirt off in gym class. The other kids thought it was weird. They teased her, called her strange and bitter. And when someone once caught a glimpse of the scars in the school locker room, the word they used was exactly that, monster. Cora grew up believing it. She believed she was a monster, that no one would ever want to marry her, and that she would die alone until she met me. And then the fear grew even larger, because she loved me from the very start. But she was certain that if I found out, I would leave, just like everyone else would. So she made a choice that she carried for 52 years. She would never show me. She would never let me see. She would live in the darkness forever, if she had to, just as long as I stayed. When I asked Cora to marry me, I was on cloud 9. I was 25, and she was 20. I thought everything was going to be perfect. A church wedding, a honeymoon, a family. I was working hard at the radio station and had saved up some money. I even bought a modest little house here in Augusta, near the city center. Everything was planned. The wedding was beautiful. Her mother cried through the whole ceremony. At the time, I thought it was just the emotion of a mother seeing her daughter get married. Today, I know it was something else. It was guilt. Guilt for not protecting her daughter. Guilt for letting that man into their lives. Guilt for not having the courage to speak up about what he did. Her mother carried that guilt until the day she died. After the ceremony, we went on our honeymoon to a nice little inn in Savannah. I was anxious, happy, and deeply in love. It was going to be the first time for both of us. I had respected her through our whole courtship. I didn't push. I waited for marriage, just like my father taught me. And now, it was time. The moment to know my wife completely. To have that intimacy that only a husband and wife share. But when we entered the room, Cora started to tremble. I thought it was just the nerves of a young woman, the fear of the first time. I moved slowly. I was gentle. I said sweet things to her. But when I went to hug her from behind, she pulled away quickly. She asked me to wait a moment, saying she needed to get ready in the bathroom. She stayed in there for almost an hour. I was starting to get worried, thinking she might be feeling sick. When she finally came out, she was wearing a nightgown that went down to her ankles and was closed up to her neck. And the lights were off. She had turned off every light in the room before coming out. "Honey," I said, "why did you turn off the light? I want to see you. You're beautiful." She started to cry. She said she was ashamed that she couldn't do it with the lights on. She begged me to respect that. She said she wanted to be a good wife, but she needed the darkness. She said she was ashamed of her body, that she wasn't pretty, and that I would be disappointed if I saw her. I tried to reason with her. I told her she was gorgeous, that I loved her, that she had nothing to be ashamed of. But she cried so hard and became so desperate that I gave in. "It's okay, sweetheart," I told her. "Your way, in your time. When you feel ready, we'll turn on the light. There's no rush." She thanked me and hugged me tight. And that night, our first night as man and wife, was in total darkness. She didn't even really take off the nightgown. She kept everything covered and only lifted the hem enough. It felt strange to me, but I respected it. I thought that with time, she would relax, let her guard down, and trust me. But time went by, and nothing changed. A week of honeymoon, every night in the dark. We came back to Augusta and moved into our house. Our married life truly began. I worked at the station. She took care of the house. Everything was normal. Everything was good, except for that. Our intimacy was always in the dark, always hurried, always with her covered up. I would try to talk to her. "Cora, what's wrong? Why don't you trust me?" She would say she did trust me, that she loved me, but that she just couldn't. She said she was raised to be modest, that her mother taught her a decent woman doesn't show herself. And I was young. I didn't know anything about women. I believed her. I thought it was just her way. The bathroom door was always locked. Always. She would go in, bolt the door, shower, dress, and only come out when she was completely covered. Morning, night, any time, the door was locked. I never saw her change clothes. I never saw her in a towel. I never saw anything beyond her face, her hands, and her feet. Once, I tried to go into the bathroom while she was in there, not out of malice or suspicion, just because I had forgotten my toothbrush and needed to grab it. I knocked and asked her to open it just a crack. She screamed. She screamed in a way I had never heard before. "No, don't come in. Wait until I'm out, please." I was in shock. I had never seen her so desperate. I apologized and told her it was fine. When she came out, she was pale and shaking. I asked if she was okay. She said she was, that I had just startled her. But I saw fear in those eyes, real fear. Of what? I didn't know. But it was there. She got pregnant in our first year of marriage. I thought that would change things. I thought she would relax, that she would need help, that she would let me see her and take care of her. But no. She closed off even more. She wore even baggier clothes. She wouldn't even let me go into the doctor's office with her. She went alone. She came back alone. When our first son was born, I was radiant. A healthy, beautiful boy. Cora was a wonderful mother from day one. Caring, loving, dedicated. But even when breastfeeding, she would cover herself with a blanket or lock herself in the room. It seemed extreme to me, but I didn't say anything. I respected it. 2 more children followed, 3 in total. The house was full, noisy, and happy. I loved my family. I loved my wife, and I loved the life we built. But there was always that mystery, that locked door, those turned-off lights, that body I never saw. The years went by, 5 years to 10 years, 20 years of marriage. I eventually stopped trying. I had accepted that this was just who she was. Love didn't need the lights on. It didn't need the body on display. What mattered was what we felt, not what we saw. But sometimes, in the middle of the night, I would wake up and look at her sleeping, covered up to her chin, even in the heat. And I would wonder, what is this secret? What is this shame? What is she hiding from me with so much fear? Deep down, a part of me felt it was something bigger than shyness, something more painful than modesty. But I never imagined, I never could have imagined, it was a 7-year-old girl being burned alive. I never imagined that she literally carried on her skin the mark of a trauma so violent she preferred 52 years of darkness over showing me. Life went on, and we grew old together. The boys grew up, became men, got married, and gave me grandkids. The little house I bought when I was young became too small, so we bought a bigger one with a yard for the grandkids to play in. I retired from the radio after so many years behind the microphone. Cora remained the impeccable homemaker she always was. Everything seemed perfect, but that secret was still there between us, like a shadow that would never leave. Over time, I tried in different ways. I didn't force her. I didn't insist. But every now and then, I'd drop a compliment or a suggestion. Honey, you look beautiful today. How about we leave the light on just a little bit? She would smile, but shake her head. No need, my dear. It's fine this way. We're old now anyway. What difference does it make? And I would let it go. Because truly, what difference did it make? I loved that woman. I loved her as she was, with her quirks and her fears. If she didn't want to show me her body, that was her business. What mattered was that she was with me, that she cared for the family, and that she loved me. Or at least that's what I tried to tell myself. But there were days it hurt. It hurt to see her hide from me as if I were a stranger. It hurt to go into the bathroom after her and feel the steam from the shower, imagining her in there alone, washing a body I never saw. It hurt to lie down beside her every night and know there was a part of her I would never know. It was as if she didn't fully trust me, as if she was keeping a piece of herself just for her. Once, when we had been married many years and the kids were grown, I tried to have a serious talk about it. We were sitting on the porch on one of those beautiful Georgia evenings with the sun setting and the birds singing. I took her hand and said, "Well, Cora, we need to talk about this. About you not letting me see you. It's not normal, honey. Couples who love each other don't hide things." She immediately grew tense. She pulled her hand away and crossed her arms. Elias, we've talked about this 1,000 times. It's just how I am. Can't you accept me for who I am? I told her I did accept her. Of course I did. But that I couldn't understand why, after all these years and 3 children, and an entire life together, she was still ashamed of me. She started to cry. It's not shame of you. It's shame of myself, of my body. I had 3 kids, Elias. My body isn't the same. I have stretch marks. I'm sagging. It's everything bad you can imagine. I don't want you to see me like this. I want you to remember me the way I was when we first met. I tried to argue. I told her that a woman's body, after having children, is beautiful, that I didn't care about stretch marks or sagging or any of that. I just wanted her, however she was. But she wouldn't listen. She got up, went into the house, and was cold toward me for 2 days. I learned not to bring it up again. The grandkids started coming. 4 of them in total. The house was full on weekends with that beautiful noise of children running and playing and asking Grandma for cookies. Cora was a doting grandmother, the kind who does everything the grandkids ask. She made cornbread, cobblers, and those sugar cookies they loved so much. Her kitchen always smelled of good things, of love turned into food. But even with the grandkids around, her routine didn't change. Bathroom door locked, clothes changed in the bedroom, with the door shut. Never, under any circumstances, was she seen without being fully dressed. The grandkids sometimes found it strange. Grandma, why don't you get in the pool with us? She'd give excuses. Grandma's tired, sweetheart. Grandma doesn't like the water. I'll stay here and make snacks for you all. Once, our youngest daughter-in-law mentioned to me, Pops, don't you think Miss Cora is overdoing it? In this heat, she's wearing long sleeves. She's going to get heat stroke. I gave a hollow laugh and said it was just her habit, that she had always been that way. But inside, I knew she was right. It wasn't normal. It never was. The excuses changed over time. At first, it was the shyness of a young girl. Then it was a mother's body. And now it was an old woman's body. Elias, I'm old. I'm wrinkled and ugly. You don't want to see that, believe me. And I always fell for it. I always believed her, always respected it, until something different started to happen. Cora began to forget things. At first, it was small things. She'd forget where she put her keys. She'd forget if she turned off the stove. She'd forget the name of the youngest grandson. We laughed it off. We thought it was just age. We all forget things when we get older. But it got worse. She'd forget appointments, forget conversations we had just the day before. Once, she made dinner twice, in the same day, because she forgot she had already cooked. The boys started to worry. Dad, Mama isn't right and we need to take her to the doctor. I took her. The doctor ran some tests, asked the usual questions. What day is it? Who is the president? What is 2 plus 2? Cora got some right and missed others. The doctor pulled me aside, away from her, and spoke softly. Mr. Pendleton, these are signs of Alzheimer's. It's early still, but it's Alzheimer's. My world collapsed. Alzheimer's, the disease that steals memory, that steals the person we love and turns them into a stranger. No, Doc, I said. There has to be another way. There's medicine. There's treatment. There's something. He said there was, that he'd try to slow it down, but that I needed to prepare myself. He said that with time, she would need care and help with everything. And that is exactly what happened. Slowly, but it happened. Cora started needing help with simple things, forgetting to take her medicine, forgetting to eat, forgetting to change her clothes. I started taking care of her, reminding her of things, helping her with whatever she needed. But I always respected her privacy. I always knocked on the bathroom door, always waited for her to dress herself. Until the day came when she tried to take a bath and forgot how to turn on the shower. She just stood in there. I could hear her touching things, trying and trying, but unable to do it. I knocked and asked if she needed help. She said no, that she could do it, but she couldn't. She stayed in there for over an hour before giving up and coming out without having washed. I realized the moment was coming. The moment when she wouldn't be able to keep the secret anymore. The moment when, whether she wanted to or not, I was going to have to truly help her. To go into the bathroom with her, to bathe her, to change her. And then I would find out. I would discover what she had hidden from me for a lifetime. But I wasn't prepared for what I was going to see. I wasn't prepared for the truth hidden under all those clothes. A truth so painful, it would make me cry like I hadn't cried since I was a boy. The disease progressed faster than I expected. The doctor had warned me it might happen, that Alzheimer's has no rules and everyone reacts differently. With Cora, it was fast. In a matter of months, she went from forgetting small things to not even remembering the names of our children. There was a day she looked at me in the kitchen and asked who I was. Elias, I replied, my heart tightening. I'm Elias, your husband. She looked at me with that confused, lost gaze, trying to remember. It took a few minutes before it clicked. Oh, Elias? My Elias. I'm sorry. Honey? I forgot. That broke me. Seeing the woman who had shared her whole life with me, who had slept by my side for over 50 years, looking at me as if I were a stranger. I swallowed my tears, forced a smile, and said it was okay, that it was normal. But inside, I was dying a little bit every day. The kids started coming over more to help, to give me a break. But Cora grew restless with strangers in the house, because to her, even her own children were sometimes strangers. Who are these people, Elias? Why are there so many people in our house? They're your children, honey. Our children. Marcus, David, Patricia. Do you remember? She would look at them, squinting her eyes, trying to search a memory that no longer worked. Sometimes she remembered, sometimes she didn't. One day she looked at Marcus, our eldest, and asked if he was the neighbor's son. Marcus walked out of the room with tears in his eyes. I followed him and put a hand on his shoulder. Easy, son. It's not her fault. It's the disease. The hardest part was when she could no longer do things for herself. Forgetting to brush her teeth, forgetting to comb her hair, putting her clothes on backward, putting on 2 shirts because she forgot she had already put the first one on, trying to make coffee, and forgetting to put water in the pot, turning on the stove and forgetting to put a pan on it. The house became a constant danger. I couldn't leave her alone for a single minute. I had to be on watch all the time. Sometimes she'd get up in the middle of the night, confused, thinking she was at her mother's house. Elias, I need to go. Mama's going to be worried. I'd gently stop her and lead her back to bed. Your mama's been gone a long time, honey. You live here with me now. And the bathroom. That damn bathroom that was always her sacred territory. That became my biggest worry. I noticed she was spending longer and longer in there. Hours. Sometimes I'd knock, worried she had fallen or hurt herself. Cora, are you okay? Yes, she'd answer. But her voice was shaky and confused. Just a little longer. But it wasn't a little longer. It was half an hour, 2 hours. I'd sit there on the floor, in the hallway, leaning against the wall, waiting, listening to the sounds. The shower, turning on and off, her turning the faucet, walking back and forth, talking to herself, sometimes crying softly. Then I'd hear the door open and she'd come out still wet because she forgot to dry off, or wearing the same dirty clothes because she forgot to change, or coming out in just her slip because she forgot to put on the rest. And when I tried to help, offering her a blouse or a skirt, she'd push my hand away. No, I can do it. I can do it. The pride was still there, even with her mind confused, even forgetting almost everything. She remembered one thing. She couldn't let me see. She couldn't show me. It was as if that secret was so deep, so ingrained in her, that even the disease couldn't erase it. It intrigued me and pained me at the same time. There was one night she woke up at 3 a.m, terrified, not knowing where she was. She screamed my name in desperation. Elias! Elias! Where are you? I'm right here, honey, I said, turning on the bedside lamp. I'm right here beside you. I've always been here. She looked at me as if it were the first time she had ever seen me. Who are you? What are you doing in my room? Get out! It hurt. It hurt so much to see the woman I had loved for decades, looking at me with fear as if I were an intruder. But I took a deep breath. I took her hand gently. I spoke softly. I'm your husband, Cora. I'm Elias. We've been married for many years. You're at home? Are you sure? Everything is fine. I would never hurt you. She calmed down little by little. The confusion passed. Her memory returned slightly. Oh, Elias, I'm sorry. I don't know what came over me. I didn't recognize you. She went back to sleep, but she spent the rest of the night restless, tossing and turning, mumbling things I couldn't understand. I stayed awake, watching her, wondering how much more time I had before she forgot me forever. The kids suggested hiring someone to help, a caregiver or a nurse, someone to be with her during the day so I could rest, because I couldn't take it anymore. I had lost 20 pounds. I had deep bags under my eyes. I was exhausted. But Cora refused. I don't want strangers in my house, she said in one of her lucid moments. You take care of me, Elias. Only you. Promise me. Only you. And I promised her. Because after an entire life together, I wasn't going to abandon her now when she needed me most. So I took care of her. I gave her the medicine on time because she forgot. I made her food because she forgot to eat. I helped her walk through the house when she was confused, when she thought she was in another place, in another time. I held her when she had nightmares. I cleaned up when she didn't make it to the bathroom in time, but the bathroom itself remained forbidden. Every time I offered help, she rejected it. No, I bathe myself. I've always bathed myself, and I always will. She'd lock the door and stay in there, and I'd stay outside, listening to the sounds, worried, praying she wouldn't fall or hurt herself, praying she'd come out in one piece. Until the small accidents started. She slipped in the shower but managed to grab the curtain. She hit her elbow on the sink, and it turned purple. She cut her finger trying to open a shampoo bottle. She scraped her knee, falling while trying to get out of the tub. Every time I saw a new bruise, I'd ask, "What happened?" She'd give excuses. It was nothing. I just got distracted. It's fine. But it wasn't fine. I knew it. And the kids knew it too. Dad, Mama can't be in the bathroom alone anymore, Marcus said seriously. What if she falls and hits her head? What if she drowns? You have to go in with her, help her, bathe at her if you have to. I know, I'd answer, but she won't let me. She won't accept it, for any reason. I talked to Cora on one of the days when she was most lucid, most present. I sat with her on the bed and took her hand. Honey, you have to let me help you. In the bathroom when it's time to bathe, you could fall. You could get hurt badly. I'm your husband. I'm the one who looks after you. There's nothing wrong with it. She looked at me with eyes full of tears and said the phrase I will never forget. If you see me, you'll hate me. You'll be disgusted by me. You'll regret ever marrying me. How could you say that, Cora? Why would I hate you? You're my wife. I love you. I've loved you for over 50 years. She shook her head, crying. You don't understand, Elias. There are things that can't be explained. There are things that are better if you don't know. Please, respect this. It's the last thing I ask of you. Don't force me into this. And once again, I respected it, as I always had. But for the first time in all those years, part of me felt anger. Anger at not understanding. Anger at being shut out. Anger at having to care for someone who didn't trust me enough to show me the truth, well, to let me truly, help. But the anger passed quickly because I saw how fragile she was, how sick, how scared. I remembered that this woman had given me everything. 3 children, an entire life, true love. If the price of that was respecting a secret I didn't understand, then I would pay it until the end. But fate had other plans. A few days later, on a sunny Tuesday morning after breakfast, Cora said she was going to take a bath. She got up slowly from the table, walked to the bathroom, went in, and locked the door as always. I stayed in the kitchen washing the breakfast dishes, listening to the sound of the shower turning on. Everything was normal, just as it had been for 52 years. Until I heard the thud. A dull, heavy, loud sound of a body hitting the tile floor. And then, silence. A silence that chilled me to the bone, that made me drop the cup I was washing, that made me run like I hadn't run in years. Cora! Cora! Are you okay? Silence. Nothing. No answer. And I knew in that moment that her secret was about to be revealed. I ran to the bathroom door and tried to open it. Locked. Of course it was locked. It was always locked. Cora! Cora! Answer me. Did you fall? Are you hurt? Silence. Only silence from the other side. My heart was racing. She could be unconscious. She could be bleeding. She could be dying in there, while I stood outside, blocked by a locked door and a 52-year-old secret. I shoved the door with my shoulder. Nothing. I shoved again, harder. The door moved, but didn't open. Cora, please answer me. My God, answer me. And that's when I heard it. A low, weak moan of pain. She was alive, but she was hurt. And I needed to get in. I took a step back and threw myself against the door, with all the strength a 74-year-old man could muster. The old wood creaked. The lock gave a little. One more time, and another, until the door burst open, hitting the wall, and I nearly tumbled inside. And that was when I saw it. Cora was lying on the floor, on her side, naked, completely naked. For the first time in 52 years of marriage, I was seeing my wife without her clothes on. But it wasn't the nakedness that hit me. It wasn't the body of a 71-year-old woman with the natural marks of age and motherhood. It was what was on her back, Scars. So many scars. Huge, purple, deep, deformed scars covering her entire back, from her shoulders down to her waist. Scars that looked as if the skin had melted, creating ridges and ripples. Marks so ugly and so violent that it was impossible not to be shocked. My God, the words left my mouth before I could even think. My God in heaven, Cora. What is this? She heard me. Even lying there on the floor, even dizzy from the fall, she heard me. And her first reaction wasn't to ask for help or complain about the pain. It was to try and cover herself. She turned her head, saw me standing there staring, and began to sob. No, don't look. Please, don't look. She tried to roll over, tried to hide her back, but she couldn't move well. She had hit herself hard. I was paralyzed for a few seconds. I couldn't process what I was seeing. Those marks, those horrible scars. My Cora, my wife, carrying that on her back her whole life, hiding it from me for 52 years. Why? What had happened to her? But it wasn't the time for questions. She was on the floor, hurt, trembling, and crying. I needed to help. I needed to snap out of the shock and help my wife. I took a deep breath, swallowed my surprise, and knelt beside her. Easy, honey, easy. I'm going to help you. I'm going to pick you up. No, she cried out, trying to push me away. Don't touch me. Go away. I didn't want you to see. I didn't want... Forgive me, Elias. And she cried. She cried so hard her whole body shook. She was crying from shame, from pain, from desperation. She was crying like someone who has kept a secret too heavy for too long. I gently took her arm. Cora, stop. You fell. You're hurt. I need to get you up. I'm going to grab a towel. I'll cover you, but you have to let me help. She kept crying, but she stopped resisting. She let her body go limp. She surrendered. I grabbed a large, soft towel hanging nearby and draped it over her carefully, covering her back, covering her whole body. There, you're covered. Now I'm going to lift you up slowly. Tell me if it hurts. I put my arm under her and lifted her carefully. She moaned in pain, but managed to stand, leaning on me. I led her to the bedroom slowly, step by step. She could barely walk. She was dizzy and weak. I laid her on the bed on her stomach, because if I laid her on her back, it would hurt on those marks. I covered her with the sheet. I'm going to get some ice for where you hit yourself. I'll be right back. I went to the kitchen and grabbed some ice, wrapped it in a cloth, but my hands were shaking. My head was spinning. Those scars, those horrible marks. What had happened? Burns. They were burns. I knew how to recognize them. But burns of that size, of that severity, that wasn't a household accident. That was violence. Someone had done that to her on purpose. I went back to the room. Cora was lying there, still, her face buried in the pillow, sobbing softly. I placed the ice carefully on the side of her hip where she had hit the floor. She whimpered but didn't complain. We stayed there in silence for a few minutes, me sitting on the edge of the bed, her lying down, the weight of a 52-year secret filling the entire room, until I couldn't take it anymore. Cora, I need to know what happened to you. Those scars, where did they come from? She didn't answer. She kept her face in the pillow, silent. Honey, I insisted, I'm your husband. We've been together for over 50 years. Please, tell me. She turned her face toward me. She looked at me with eyes red and swollen from crying. "You're going to hate me," she whispered. "When you know you're going to hate me, you're going to be disgusted by me." "I will never hate you," I replied. "Never. No matter what happened. I love you, and I've always loved you. That isn't going to change." She closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and began to speak. "I was 7 years old, Elias. Only 7. I lived with my ma and my stepfather in a little town near Greenwood. My real father had died when I was very small. My mama met this man and moved in with him. He drank. He drank every day. And when he drank, he became violent. He'd hit my mama, break things in the house, scream and curse. I was so afraid of him, so afraid. I would walk on eggshells, try not to make a sound, try not to draw attention to myself. But it didn't matter. He'd always find a reason to hit or scream." She paused, her voice trembling. "There was one day," she stopped, "one day when my mama had gone to the river to wash clothes. She left me at home doing my schoolwork. He came home drunk earlier than usual. He ordered me to make him food. I was 7 years old. I didn't know how to cook well, but I had to obey, or he'd hit me. I tried to make grits. I managed to make them, but I forgot the salt. He took a bite, spat it out, threw the plate on the floor, and it shattered. He went into a rage. He said I was useless, that I was good for nothing, and that he was going to teach me how to do things right." She stopped talking. She was shaking, reliving all of it. I took her hand. "Go on, honey. You can talk. I'm right here." "He grabbed me by the arm," she continued, her voice nearly disappearing. "He dragged me to the stove. There was a pot there with boiling water for his coffee. He grabbed the pot. I saw what he was going to do. I tried to scream. I tried to run, but he was too strong. He spun me around and poured the water over me. Tears were streaming down her face. I felt the skin melt, Elias. I felt the flesh burning. The pain was so great I couldn't even scream. I just blacked out. I fell to the floor, and he walked out of the house as if nothing happened. He left me there alone, burning. My mama came home and found me. She called for help and took me to the hospital. I was in there for 3 months. 3 months of treatments, of pain, of screaming every time they changed the bandages. The doctors said the burns were severe and would leave an ugly scar. And they did. You saw them. My God, Cora. I was crying now, too. My God, how horrible. You were a child. A little child. When I left the hospital, she continued, my mama finally found the courage to kick him out. But the damage was done. It wasn't just the scar on my body. It was the scar on my soul. I grew up thinking I was a monster, that I was ugly, that no one would ever want me. At school, the kids teased me. When they saw my back in the locker room, they called me monster, burned girl, freak. I stopped going to the pool. I stopped doing gym. I wore long sleeves even in the heat. I hid. I always hid. When I became a young woman, she said, wiping her tears, I thought I would never get married. Who would want a woman with a ruined body, with a horrible scar on her back? I was damaged, marked forever by a man who hated me. Then I met you, and you were so handsome, so kind. You treated me like I was special, and I fell in love. But I was afraid, Elias, so afraid. Afraid that if you found out, you'd leave me. You'd say I was ugly, that I was a monster, just like the kids used to say. So I decided never to show you, never to let you see. To live my whole life in the dark if I had to, because at least that way, you would love me without knowing. And if one day you found out, well, at least I had lived. I had been loved. I had been happy for a time. But I lived with fear every single day, she confessed. Fear that you'd find out, fear that you'd leave, fear of losing you over something that happened when I was 7 years old. Fear that the scars would be more important than everything we built together. She looked into my eyes, sobbing. And now you've seen. Now you know. I'm the monster the children said I was. I understand if you don't want to be with me anymore, if you're disgusted, if you want to go. I couldn't speak for a moment. I was processing it all. The story, the pain, the trauma. A 7-year-old girl being burned by her stepfather. A girl growing up thinking she was a monster. A woman hiding her body, her entire life for fear of being rejected. 52 years of fear. 52 years of shame. 52 years of a secret too heavy for one person to carry alone. Then I spoke, my voice cracking, tears streaming down my face. Cora, look at me. She looked. Did you really think I would leave you over a scar? Over something an evil man did to you when you were an innocent child? I have loved you for 52 years. It isn't because of smooth skin. It isn't because of a perfect body. It's because of who you are. The woman who gave me 3 children, the dedicated mother, the doting grandmother, the partner of a lifetime, the person who made me happy all these years. Those scars, I continued, pointing toward her covered body, they don't make you a monster. They make you a warrior. You survived hell when you were 7 years old. You survived the cruelty of children. You survived the trauma, the pain, and the shame. And yet, you built a life. You loved. You were loved. You raised children. And you were happy. You are the strongest woman I know. And I love you more now than I did yesterday. Because now I know the weight you carried alone. I know that even with all that weight, you never let it touch our family. You never let the pain turn you bitter. You were pure love your whole life. She cried even harder, but it was a different kind of crying. It wasn't shame, it was relief. It was the weight of 52 years of fear finally dissolving. You aren't disgusted? She asked, almost unable to believe it. You aren't going to leave? Cora, I said, lying down beside her and hugging her gently. I'm not going anywhere. I've been with you for 52 years without seeing your body. Do you really think seeing some scars is going to change anything? You're my wife. You're the love of my life. And those marks are a part of you. I love you entirely, scars and all. She turned around and hugged me. She cried on my chest for hours. She cried out everything she had held in for decades. She cried for the 7-year-old girl. She cried for the shame of her adolescence. She cried for the fear of her adult life. She cried for 52 years of secrets. And I stayed there, holding her, letting her cry, whispering that it was okay, that I was there, and that I would always be there. And that day, for the first time in over 5 decades, Cora slept without fear. She slept knowing she was loved completely, with the marks, with the scars, with the entire painful story she carried on her skin. And for the first time, she believed she wasn't a monster. She was a survivor. She was a warrior. She was loved. After that day, everything changed. Love didn't change. No, love stayed the same, maybe even stronger. What changed was the truth between us. There was no more secret, no more locked door, no more turned off lights. For the first time in 52 years, my Cora could be herself, completely herself, without hiding anything. In the first few days after the fall, she was still ashamed. When I went to help her change her clothes, she would try to cover up. When I went into the bathroom to bathe her, she would look away. But little by little, she relaxed. She began to understand that those scars didn't change anything, that I looked at them and saw history, saw survival, saw strength. I started taking care of her for real, bathing her, changing her clothes, combing her hair. And every time I saw all those marks on her back, I would brush them with affection. My warrior marks, I'd say. She would smile. A small smile, still shy, but it was a smile. After so much time thinking that those marks were a cause for shame, she started to understand that they could be a cause for pride. In having survived and having won. I called the kids together to talk. I sat with them in the living room one day while Cora was asleep. I need to tell you something about your mother. They grew worried, thinking the disease had worsened. It's not that, they said, Misuto. It's about her life, about something she hid from everyone, including me, for many years. I told them the story. I told them about the stepfather, about the pot of boiling water, about the burned 7-year-old girl, about the scars she carried on her back her entire life, and about the 52 years she spent hiding from me out of fear of being rejected. I told them everything. All 3 of them cried. Marcus, who was the toughest, cried like a baby. Patricia sobbed with her hand over her mouth, trying to process it all. And David got up, went outside, and came back with red eyes. Dad, Mama suffered all that and we never knew? Why didn't she ever tell us? Because she was ashamed, I explained, because she thought you would see her differently, that you'd pity her or find her ugly and marked. She wanted to be a normal mama for her children, without trauma, without a sad story, just love. And that's what she gave you. Pure love. Without letting the pain of the past contaminate it. Patricia wanted to see. She wanted to see the scars. I went to the room and woke Cora gently. The kids want to see you, honey. They want to hug you. She was confused because of the disease, but she let us. I lifted her blouse and showed them her back. The 3 of them approached in silence. They saw the marks, the purple, deep, deformed scars. And then they did something I will never forget. All 3 of them knelt in front of her, hugged her together, and asked for forgiveness. Forgiveness for not knowing, for not noticing, for the pain she carried alone. Patricia kissed her mother's back, right on the scars. Marcus did the same. David did too. And Cora cried. She cried, but she smiled at the same time. My children, she said in a weak voice. My children love me. Of course we love you, Mama, Patricia said. You're the best mama in the world. Those marks don't change anything. They just show how strong you are, how much you fought. We love you even more, knowing this. From that day on, Cora changed. Even with the Alzheimer's advancing, even forgetting almost everything, she seemed lighter, as if a giant weight had been lifted from her back, literally. She smiled more. She was more at peace. She no longer had that haunted look of someone hiding something terrible. I cared for her with all the love I had. The days grew harder, Alzheimer's is unforgiving. She forgot more and more. She forgot the names of the grandkids. She forgot where she lived. There were days she even forgot her own name. But one thing she never forgot, that I loved her. Even on the most confused days, when she looked at me without recognition and asked who I was, it was enough for me to say, "I'm Elias, honey, your husband." And she would smile. "Oh, my Elias, you love me, don't you?" "I love you," I'd answer. "I've always loved you. I will always love you." There was one afternoon, a few months after the revelation, when she was especially lucid. One of those rare moments of clarity people with Alzheimer's sometimes have, as if the person returns for a few hours. We were sitting on the porch watching the sunset, that orange Georgia sun. She looked at me and said, "Elias, thank you. Thank you for staying with me, for not leaving when you saw, for loving me as I am, scars and all. I spent my whole life thinking no one would love me if they knew, and you loved me even more." I took her hand. "Cora, what that man did to you was the worst thing that could happen to a child. But do you know what you did? You transformed pain into love. You didn't let violence make you violent. You didn't let resentment make you bitter. You raised a beautiful family, full of love and affection. You won. That man didn't win. You did." She cried, but it was a cry of peace. The cry of someone who finally believes they deserve to be loved. "He called me a monster," she said. "I believed him my whole life. But you call me a warrior. I'm going to die believing you." "Don't talk about dying," I pleaded, squeezing her hand. "We still have plenty of time." She smiled and shook her head. "Elias, we don't know how much time we have. The disease is taking me. I know it. I feel it. There are days I don't even remember who I am. But I know you love me. And that's what matters." The months passed. The disease advanced rapidly. Cora became bedridden. She stopped speaking clearly and stopped eating on her own. I took care of her every day. I fed her. I changed her. I turned her so she wouldn't get bed sores. And every day without fail, I kissed her back, right on the scars. "My warrior marks," I'd say, even though I knew she might not understand anymore. But there was one day she did understand. She was very weak, barely opening her eyes. I had just bathed her and put lotion on her back, and I kissed the scars, as I always did. She whispered, her voice almost gone. "Thank you for loving me, Elias. Thank you for not giving up on me." "I will never give up on you," I said, holding her hand. "You are the love of my life." She squeezed my hand ever so slightly, smiled, and closed her eyes. She passed away a few days later, on a quiet morning, in her sleep, without pain. The kids were there, the grandkids too, all around the bed, holding her hand and telling her they loved her. And I was by her side, whispering in her ear, "You're not a monster, honey. You never were. You're my warrior, my hero, and I love you forever." When her heart stopped, when I saw she was gone, I didn't fall apart. I didn't fall into despair, because I knew she had gone in peace. She had gone knowing she was loved, holy, with the scars and everything. She had gone believing she was a warrior, not a monster, and for me, that was everything. The funeral was beautiful. Many people came, friends, neighbors, folks from the church, all speaking well of her. What a good woman she was. What a dedicated mother. What a loving grandmother. And I, looking at her in the casket, dressed as she always liked to be, thought, if they only knew. If they knew the strength this woman had, the pain she carried, the shame she overcame. They wouldn't just praise her, they would kneel before her. When it was time to close the casket, I asked for a few minutes alone with her. The children left and closed the door. I leaned in and kissed her forehead. You were the best thing that ever happened to me, Cora. And the scars, those marks you thought would drive me away, they made me love you even more, because they showed me who you truly were. A survivor, a warrior, a woman of substance. Rest in peace, my love. You deserve it. Today, when I look at her photos and remember our story, I don't think about the locked door. I don't think about the turned-off lights. I don't think about the 52 years of secrets. I think about the 7-year-old girl who survived hell. I think about the woman who transformed pain into love. I think about the wife who gave me the most beautiful family in the world. And I think that I had the honor of loving a true warrior. 52 years of marriage, and my wife never let me see her without clothes. Always in the dark, always locked away. I thought it was shyness, the shame of a modest woman. I respected it my whole life, until one day she fell in the bathroom and I went in to help. And I saw, it wasn't an old woman's body she was hiding, it was scars. Burned scars. Her whole back marked from the day her stepfather poured boiling water on her when she was 7 years old. All because she dropped a plate. A 7-year-old girl burned alive by a man who was supposed to protect her. She thought that if I saw, I would leave. She spent 52 years thinking I loved a perfect body and not a soul. She spent 52 years hiding what made her feel like a monster. A word she heard her whole life from children, from classmates, from that cursed stepfather who marked her forever. Do you know what I felt when I saw? It wasn't disgust. It wasn't disappointment. It was love. A love greater than anything I had ever felt, because I understood the strength of that woman. She survived hell as a child. She grew up hiding the pain. She loved me without believing she deserved to be loved. She gave me 3 children thinking she was damaged. She lived 52 years afraid of losing me over something that wasn't her fault. She was my warrior. Those scars were medals of survival. I spent the last years of her life kissing those marks. My warrior marks, I'd tell her. And she would smile. After all those years, she finally smiled when she looked at her own body. Cora died knowing she was loved, entirely, with scars and all. Her stepfather said she was a monster. I said she was a hero. She lived most of her life believing him. She died believing me. True love doesn't need the lights on. It doesn't need a perfect body. It doesn't need smooth skin. True love sees in the dark. And when it finally does see, it loves even more, because it realizes the marks a person carries are proof that they fought, they survived, and they won. I'm really glad you're here, and that I could share my story with you. If you liked it, show me by liking the video and subscribing to my channel. Let's see how many of us there are. Write in the comments which city you're watching from and what time it is. I'm so curious to know where all you wonderful people are tuning in from. If you want to support me a little extra, you can also send a small donation. I share new life stories for you every single day. And now, 2 of my most popular stories will pop up on the screen, so you can choose what to watch next.